Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to Angel Face Magic Hour, and I am your host, Grace Lannon. I'm an energy healer, an artist, a medium. I wear many titles and many hats, and today I am the host of this podcast. So, are you excited? Because I am. Thank you for coming back and listening and hanging out with me today. And if you've never listened to this podcast before, welcome. Welcome to the party. We're getting weird and wild today, and we're going to talk about the Akashic Records. What the heck is that? If you didn't already hear, in case you don't follow me on social media and you just listened to this podcast, I officially launched. Well, I officially teased the launch because the launch starts February 8th. So get ready. That's in a couple days. But I'm officially launching my Akashic Records class. So it's going to be called Akashic Deep Dive. This is something I've been teasing and having in the works for several years now. Pretty much since 2020, I had the intention to teach this class. And today, I'm going to talk about why. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Akashic Records, but I also wanted to let you know, in case you are a listener and you love learning with me on the podcast, perhaps you want to learn together in a live capacity. This class will be on Zoom. This class is going to start in March and go through May. It's going to be a 12-week course. I'm so excited. We're going to be meeting for 6 weeks at a time. The first 6 weeks is going to be all about healing yourself and using the records to connect with and heal yourself. Then we're going to have a little break. We'll have like 2 weeks off basically to kind of integrate all that information. There's going to be homework that you'll have in between, and then we'll meet again for another 6 weeks. And that is going to be where we begin to talk about how to read the Akashic Records, how to do a reading in the Akashic Records, and also how to use it for healing, not only for yourself, but for someone else. If you wanted to help someone, if you wanted to incorporate it into your healing work, if you already do readings or healing sessions, like perhaps you want to gain more insight and information and different modalities and ways that you can connect. But the most exciting part of this class that I'm the most enthused about is my intention with this course is to teach you, yes, how to read the Akashic Records and show you some of my tips and tricks. And this is what I do. But it's mainly about giving you information so that you can become your own healer. You can become your own intuitive so that you can learn your own unique way to connect with this information, this intuitive information through the Akashic Records. So I'm very excited. If you follow me on Instagram, I did a live the other day talking more in detail about like little stuff about the class, so you can watch that video. I'm going to re-upload it to YouTube. So if you're one of my I was gonna say family, but I feel like that's extreme. One of my homies over on YouTube, you're my family. I love you, but I was like, does that sound weird? One of my YouTube people, you can watch that video over there. And my Instagram is angelface.grace. If you've never connected with me over there, that's kind of the place where I spend the most time other than here on the podcast. So get excited. This is something that, yeah, I just really knew I had to put out now, even though it's something that I've kind of like thought about again and again and again and again for years. And it just never felt like it was time yet. So we are finally launching. I'm going to do another episode after the class launches, going over the curriculum and talking more in detail about what we're actually going to do in the class, because I want to talk more today about what are the Akashic Records, in case you've never heard of this concept, in case you maybe have heard of it, but you're not sure if it's something you want to take a class around. And I also just want to talk to you about some of my personal experiences connecting into the Akashic Records. So yeah, you're welcome to hang out, get cozy, get comfy. I love to listen to podcasts on my walk. And yeah, if you have any questions about this class, you can send me a direct message on Instagram or email me. I love when people email me. It's easiest for me because it's easiest to find. But my email is grace@gracelannon, which is my website, which will soon have all the information about this class on it, gracelannon.com. And yeah, I'll put the links to email me, find me on Instagram in the show notes. I think they're already there, but I'll add them again and again every week in case you want to connect. But of course, if you have any questions about this class, tap in, let me know. And yeah, just one more little announcement about the class before we get into some more informational stuff and some more esoteric knowledge for us to dive into together today. If you have studied with me before in the past, perhaps you have taken Spirit School, which is my psychic development course, or perhaps you have studied Reiki with me, one of my Reiki students, Reiki 1 through Reiki Master, doesn't matter, any of those classes. If you want to sign up for this class, you can receive a discount. So just send me a DM before you actually sign up or email me, and I'll give you a coupon code, and you can get a little discount on this class just for supporting me in the past. And I truly believe that this information will help you and build upon what you're already doing with your intuitive work or Reiki work. And we're going to be talking about energy healing in this class, so it's going to be really fun. And a lot of this class is going to be more ceremonial healing, like journeying, going into the records. So it's going to be pretty deep in the first 6 weeks. And then the second 6 weeks is, again, going to be more about learning and about practicing. So this is something that I encourage people to come live to, so you can participate live. Of course, depending on where you live, maybe the time zone wasn't going to work for you or whatever, just reach out to me and we can check in and just see if it's something that would still be good for you to sign up for. I totally think that people can do this work just watching the recordings, but part of it is going to be more participatory. So I'd love if you could come live. And yeah, everything will be recorded. And also the class costs $333. Angel numbers, we had to do it. We had to do it. Yeah, and it's a 12-week class. So that's the details. Payment plans are available. If you would like that, just let me know and I will set up everything, make it easy for you. But yeah, everything written out, logistical, all the information is going to be on my website for February 8th, which is this coming Thursday. So you can decide if you want to sign up for this class or not. So it's a week from now. And I would love to have you. There's going to be 10. Did I already say this? There's going to be 10 spots available for this class. So I want it to be pretty small, pretty intimate, so we can still connect. We can still practice, and there won't be necessarily like accountability partners, or you won't necessarily have to do readings for other people in the group. That won't be like required of you, but it's going to be encouraged of you. So we're going to have like a little, I'll probably do Telegram because that's what I've done in the past, but like a little group chat, maybe Facebook, but I usually like to stay away from Facebook. We'll see. It just becomes like too much. But some kind of group chat so people can connect with each other during the course and after the course. If you want to practice on each other, I would love that. I love when people connect and make friends and make community, but I also don't like to do forced participation because sometimes that deters the shy ones. And I feel like I get a lot of shy people who I'm ready to crack open, and eventually they won't be shy anymore. But when they get started, they're timid. I was going to say meek, but I had a Freudian slip. You're definitely not weak. In 7th grade, you guys, I decided I didn't want to be a shy person anymore. So I have consciously made an effort to be more extroverted, and eventually it becomes like fun to me. But I can definitely be shy depending on my circumstances and depending on my mood, if I want to talk to you or not. But I love talking to new people and making friends, and I love being able to hold space for others. So I'm just really excited. I haven't done a group class in like 2 years, almost, maybe a year and a half. Like I've done my group workshops where it's like one day and we meet for an hour or something, but I haven't taught Spirit School, I think, in a year. So this will be brand new. brand new information. And I really, really hope that some of you pod listeners sign up. I'm also going to just do a little coupon code for the pod listeners too. So once the class launches and I do the next episode where we talk about the details of this course and the curriculum, I will give you guys a coupon code if you want to sign up, a little discount. Not as much as the alumni though, but you know, I know that you guys get me and ride with me and like to learn from me. So I want to be able to provide that in a bigger way than just listening to the podcast. So if you like to sign up, reach out to me. If you want to be on the wait list to be the first to know when the class officially launches February 8th, again, DM, email, you know how it works. But let's get into it. So first of all, let's just take a deep breath, closing our eyes. Exhale out the mouth. And just closing your eyes for a moment. Of course, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But closing your eyes for a moment and just tuning into the sound of my voice. Imagine for a moment that you could experience all of time at once. You could experience the past, the future, the many possibilities of the future, of course. This exact moment, at the same time you're experiencing your thoughts. What are we even talking about? What is she even talking about? At the same time you're experiencing the physical sensations in your body. Oh, I feel a little itch on the back of my neck. Oh, I feel tingly. Oh, I feel cold. Oh, I feel nothing. Oh, my mouth is dry. I'm thirsty. I need to eat. Whatever is coming into your mind. At the same time, you're thinking about what you're going to do after you listen to this podcast. At the same time, you can tune into the sensation of your heart beating. At the same time, you can hear the sound of the cars driving by or the furthest noise in the distance, someone laughing, someone walking by, dogs barking, whatever it is. Feeling the sensation of your belly breathing. And one more deep breath, breathing in. Exhale. And you can totally listen to this with your eyes closed, but you can open them if you'd like. I just wanted to give you an example. This is kind of what the Akashic Records is like. Everything is existing at one moment. Everything is existing at the same time. The past, the present, the future, the many lifetimes that you've lived. If you believe in past lives, parallel, whatever you believe in, you can experience connections with your spirit guides, your body, your emotions, all the different dimensions of yourself. You can experience memories. You can experience things that you weren't even aware of that your ancestors experienced, perhaps your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, etc., etc. We can experience this all through the Akashic Records. It is a hard concept to wrap your mind around, that everything exists at once. This is why we bring questions. This is why we bring intentions. This is why we bring meditations or whatever we want to do within the records to this space, because there is just a vast, endless portal of information. So we can go up there and just like peek around. But oftentimes what we want to do is bring an intention, a question into this space so that we can really gain information, gain access to knowledge, and gain understanding from that which we experience in the records. So what are the Akashic Records? So Akasha Basically, loosely in Sanskrit, loosely, because I am no scholar. I'm just some girl who is a psychic, but basically it means ether. Basically, it means the space before the space, or like plasma. It's the energy in between everything, and everything exists within that energy. It is space. It is everything that existed before we existed. Some people call it a record because it is almost like a library. It is written information. It is visual information. It is sound and light and all these different things, almost as if they were recorded in time for us to access them. But really, it is just a space, a state of consciousness that we can go into to access all that information. So, something that I believe in, something that some people teach, is that it's almost as if the Akashic Records is contained within our auric field. Some might call that the soul star chakra. So that is like an energy center that is contained above our crown. So the crown is the top chakra if you look at the 7 chakra system. But the crown is connected to our intuition, our aura, all the energy that surrounds us. But above that is almost like a little bubble in the sky. But that little bubble is connected to us. But that little bubble is also connected to literally everything and everyone. Mainly, that is the idea of consciousness. We are all connected to the same collective information. We all have the ability to access these memories. So I always give examples of technology because I feel like that's a way that we can like sum up all this really big information that seems confusing into like a few simple ideas. But like the Akashic Records are basically like the iCloud. Like we have access to all those files, but we don't actually have to hold them within our body. Here's where the problem happens. In my experience as a psychic, I'm sure there's many other experiences, but this is my experience. That's why I am going to be teaching the class, because this is my information that I want to share with people. But in my experience, here's where the problem happens is when we keep those files, those memory files within our body, it's almost like a glitch. Like we have too much access to that file. So it almost like takes up too much space in our body. So when we hold on to these traumatic memories, whether that is like something from our childhood, something from an ancestor, something from even a past life, it can show up as disease or illness or just like difficulty in our life, because we're like holding on to that whole entire file when we could just have access to it almost as a download, so we could get the information when we need it, but we don't need to even to physically hold it in our body. So the Akashic Records, the idea is that it is a space within the astral realms, within the cosmic realms, the dimensions, whatever word you want to describe it as, but a dream realm perhaps is a good word for you. But the Akashic Records are a space that we can all go to, and that is almost contains a library of information of everything that ever happened, everything that could possibly happen, because the future is always shifting and changing based on every decision we make, every breath we take. It's never too late to change, my friends. And yeah, everything that ever was, could be, and is in this moment. So that gets so confusing. So that's why we're doing a 12-week class on it, because it's like, how are we going to look at that information when we could look at literally everything? And then you're looking at 13,000 things at once and you don't understand what anything means. So that's kind of why I gave us a little example of closing your eyes and you're experiencing all this stuff at once, because it is almost like the TV's on, the radio's on, the computer's playing YouTube, you're scrolling on TikTok. It's like everything is happening at one time. You hear like the tire screeching from the cars outside. It's like you can't slow down enough to notice what's actually happening. So that's why I wanted to provide some structure for it. And anyone could access this information. Basically, we go there through intention. We go there through a meditation, a prayer. There's different processes that you can do to access this information. But once you're there, how do you decipher it? So we can go up there and we begin the healing process. So what we're doing through that healing process is gaining energy, taking energy from the infinite, because it's endless. If we take it, it doesn't mean it's gone. It continues to evolve and flow and on and on and on and on and on and on forever. Um, but we can take that energy and place it into our bodies, which is basically doing some energetic healing in that space so that we can bring healing to ourselves throughout time. So we can gain access to our inner child, our future self, our higher self. We can connect with spirit guides. We can connect through mediumship. So there's many different things that you can do within this space. But the idea is that it is a structured space that you can continue to go to access information that you want to understand, to further connect with your higher self, your soul, and not just you as you. Like, I'm Grace now, but I'm also like whatever other lives that I've lived. So when I go there, I can connect with those aspects of myself. And what I want to teach people is that they can do that too. So I want to take this mysterious information and put it into some kind of like format for people to understand. So we do that in small increments. So if you're curious about the Akashic Records, one of the first things that I did when I was like just learning about them was read this book. It's literally called How to Read the Akashic Records by Linda Howe. I'll put a link in the show notes. And she talks about how to read the Akashic Records. She has a little bit of a format, a system, and in here she talks about other people's experiences using the records. And it was very inspiring for me to read. So I think that's a great place for people to start if you're like, well, I just want to learn more about this before I even like think I want to take a class about it at all. So that's a good place to start. But I really like the way that she describes what the Akashic Records are. So I just want to read that to you. Hold on. Let me get the bear with me. So this is I think a very good concise description just to help you guys understand. So this is from Linda Howe. She teaches people how to read the Akashic Records. I have not taken her class, but I have read her book. The Akashic Records are a dimension of consciousness that contains a vibrational record of every soul and its journey. This vibrational body of consciousness exists everywhere in its entirety and is completely available at all times in all places. As such, the records are an experiential body of knowledge that contains everything that every soul has ever thought, said, and done over the course of its existence, as well as future possibilities. A dimension of consciousness is a realm of the unseen world that we humans can identify and experience through its qualities, characteristics, or traits. For example, as I said earlier, the dream state is a dimension of consciousness. So when we connect with these dimensions of consciousness, we're really connecting with different parts of our brain. And I am not a neurologist or a brain doctor in any way, but I'm sure there's a lot of studies that could help you understand what happens in your brain when you're sleeping, what happens in your brain when you're meditating. It is a shift between who you are right now and who you are when you alter your state. So we know that we can alter our state from things like, oh, smoking weed or doing ayahuasca or like, these things that like we really see this shift and change within how I felt before or after I take a substance, or even going to a concert. You can feel like the alter state of your consciousness in the way that you are like, oh, I felt so alive and electrified after you saw that live music, or anything like going to watch people dance. You can really feel that energy. Even dancing yourself, you can really feel the shift in consciousness where you're not so much aware of your thoughts, but you're more just aware of your body and the sensations in your body. This can happen through breath work. This can happen through meditation. And accessing the Akashic Records is basically a state of meditation where we're able to go in there, be in that conscious state of meditation. And at the same time, we are speaking. At the same time, we are pulling information out of this altered state, out of this dimension and place and time, out of our mind, and bring it out into reality by stating it and sharing the information, whether that's for yourself or another person. So I always encourage people, if they're connecting with into the Akashic Records for themselves, and we'll talk way more about this in the class, but like journaling, writing down your experience, because it is almost like a dream where you can gain so much stuff all at once, but then when you come back, you're like, was I talking to a bear in a t-shirt? Was it a Grateful Dead t-shirt? You're like, what's happening in this experience right now? And everyone has their own unique way of experiencing things. And that's what we really focused in on in spirit school, that psychic development skill of, do I process through my mind? Do I process through my body? Do I process through visions and more of my psychic sight? Or how do I gain this information? So this class is going to be a little bit more advanced, and connecting into the Akashic Records is a little bit more advanced, but at the same time, you don't have to literally know anything to do it. You don't have to literally do anything. You can't do anything wrong. It's just like, do I understand what is happening? And sometimes we don't need to understand what is happening. Sometimes we just need to have a healing experience and it feels good and it's very relaxing. But I think it can be a very helpful tool in expanding your ability to gain more information from your intuitive skills. And in my experience, when we bring our energy up into this altered state of consciousness, into the records, it's almost like a portal between all time and space where I can tune into everything about you. And of course, you could tune everything about me if you wanted to too, but I'm the one doing the reading. But I can tune into everything I need to know about you. But it also helps me organize that information so it's not so confusing and it's not so overwhelming. It's almost like it streamlines it into these different files of information for me to access. And I personally have had a lot of healing happen through just meditating in this space they call the Akashic Records. That even that is so profound and healing that I just wanted to bring it to more people so that they can understand this is a space that they can connect to as well. So we're going to be doing that again through these healing experiences, these meditations, and then we're also going to be practicing how to actually read that information. But I wanted to just tell you briefly what even are the Akashic Records, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about how did I even find out about this and what my journey has been like learning about it. So this book was really what opened me up, the How to Read the Akashic Records by Linda Howe. But like pretty much everything in my life, I heard about it from a podcast. I heard about it from a podcast, and I was like, that sounds very interesting. I also at the time had been really obsessed with learning about past lives, and I had all these weird reoccurring fears and pains, specifically one in my knee. Another one was more about death and dying, and some other things, shame, reoccurring patterns within my body, and I'm still working through those with my teeth. But I was just like, there has to be something going on here more than just all the bullshit from when I was younger and all my anxiety and stuff like that. It was like leading to a deeper place that was beyond what I was experiencing in my everyday life and beyond what I experienced when I was younger. It kind of like was so mysterious and almost out of nowhere that I was like, I feel like these things are connected more to something outside of just grace and my lifetime and my experiences. So I had been really curious about past lives, and I heard on a podcast, I think it was the That's So Retrograde podcast, which is no longer a podcast, but I loved listening to it when I first found out about it. And they had lots of different like psychics and healers on and different episodes. And there was an episode with this woman. I literally feel like I don't remember her name. I feel like it was Ashley. I should have looked this up before. If I find her name, I will link it in the show notes. If I can find that episode, I will definitely link it in the show notes. I'll do some research tonight. I'm pretty sure. So she has a podcast that I think is called The Line. I literally had never listened to her podcast, even though this interview was very profound for me and like super helpful for me in along my healing journey. But I have never listened to her podcast, so maybe it's coming up now so that I can listen myself, or perhaps some of you guys would like to check it out. But she has a podcast. I think it's called The Line, and she reads the Akashic Records. So the interview was just about her experience with the records. And I was like, this sounds super fascinating. And they mentioned stuff about past lives. And I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I can like learn about in order for me to move through some of the physical pain and dis-ease that I was experiencing at the time. This was probably 2016. I'm pretty sure because I read this book in 2017, but I remember in doesn't really matter. I think it was 2017 or 2018. But anyway, it doesn't really matter at the time. But I read the book after I listened to this podcast because I was like, oh, the Akashic Records. Let me learn about this. Let me look into how I can get a reading. At the time, I looked into how to get a reading and I was like, oh, it's a little expensive for me. I didn't have the money at the time to pay for it. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. But maybe someday I'll get a reading. Because it was like $200 or something. And I was like, I can't do that right now. And so I started looking about how to learn about the Akashic Records, and I found this book, How to Read the Akashic Records by Linda Howe. And this is like a very famous book. She's a very famous, well-known in this space of reading the Akashic Records. I feel like she's one of the first people to kind of popularize it in the modern times. But I read the book, and I remember I went on a trip with my mom, and we went to Mexico. It was very nice, very nice. We went for my birthday. And I remember on the plane, I read this book on the way back. And there was this one story in there about someone being, I forget what their exact fear was, but they had this chronic fear and this like, there was no reason for them to have this fear, this reoccurring fear. And I read about the experience, and it really clicked for me that perhaps some of the reoccurring pains I had in my body were actually reoccurring fears that I had in my body that perhaps are connected to more things from the past. When I was little, I had dreams all the time about tsunamis and volcanoes, and it was terrifying. Like, they weren't just dreams, they were like nightmares, and I had them all the time. And when I first found out about the Akashic Records, something clicked for me that made me realize, oh, maybe this tsunami thing, because I had that reoccurring dream until maybe 2018 or something. Maybe this tsunami dream is connected to a death that I had in a past life, or even just an experience that I had in a past life. And I began to understand that through the book. Once I began to understand that through the book, I began to experiment with going into the records to ask my guides questions. Once I began doing that, my clairaudience began to expand quickly, so that I began to decipher and understand the information that was actually coming through. Once I got into this book, I found a couple other books, and I'll link all the books that I love for reading the Akashic Records in the show notes. And I read a few more, and I began to do readings. So the way that I did the readings first was more of a journey style, where I would go into the records, I would take all the information, I would bring it back to the client and tell them about it afterwards. Now the way that I do the readings is more like, well, I do it still that way if it's a recorded reading, because the person's not there. But otherwise, it's like I take them through the experience, and I'm able to be conscious in that state where I can still speak to them, still listen to their questions, still interact with them at the same time that I'm in this like altered state of consciousness. Now, it has taken a few years to be able to do that, because even now, like opening up and talking about this, I'm starting to get tired. I'm starting to get sleepy. So like when I first started doing these readings, I would get so high, like from the energy, that I would pass out, like, and not like I'm fainting, but just like I would fall asleep so easily after, and this almost takes you into a trance state. So for me, it was beginning to learn about grounding my physical body here on earth at the same time that my energy and my mind is expanded open up into that soul star, which is where I'm able to access the records from. I don't know if this is unique to me. I don't think it is, but it's more of, I would say, like a shamanic journey style way to access it versus what they do in the book, which is a prayer. That is just like saying something out loud to like set yourself up. So there's a prayer in here. I encourage people to just play around with it if they want to look up like how to open the Akashic records. There's not going to be anything bad that happens. The records is only about like love and light and like healing. Like you can see dark shit through the records, because darkness is part of life. There is no life of complete paradise. Everything is duality. There is bad shit that happens every day, constantly. So it's not like, oh, I can't like see about anything bad in there, but it's more just like it comes through this state of love. It's not like you have to worry about other energies coming through. Because I know a lot of times when people open up to like learning about psychic gifts, they can be scared because of things that they might have seen in like a movie or a horror show or whatever. So when we set ourselves up with a prayer, it's really about just like stating like, I am here, this is my intention, and this is what I want to do right now. Eventually, it's really just about like clicking on and off. Like you can just go in there and gain information, but that takes just practice. It's just like any other tool or skill, just because it's harder to put words to, because it is more of again an experiential type of energy, doesn't mean that it isn't something that you can like learn. It's not just a like osmosis, just like one day you understand. It's practice, and eventually you will understand. So when I talk about the Akashic records and going in there, it's really for me about going into a space of pure light, pure love, unconditional healing energy, frequency of like, I see you, I know you, I love you. Like the guides are there to support you in however I'm experiencing my life in the moment. If I'm in pain, if I'm sad, if I'm happy, if I'm sick, whatever it is, like I can go up there to be shown who I am and my true like soul, which is beyond just like how I'm feeling in the moment. But also I think it can be helpful for understanding like how we can get to the places we want to be. So the idea of like manifesting something, like we can do that through the records, because it's really about like seeing the future potential of yourself, because oftentimes we are blocked through like by our own shame and guilt and all the bullshit we hold, that like we are blocked from seeing like how amazing we actually are because we're scared to truly see ourselves. So the records can show us our true self so that we can really like follow through on the actions that we need to take in order to like move towards the things that we desire. And what we desire is what we've been talking about on this podcast a lot, is just like learning to identify that for yourself. So I think the records can also help us with those big soul questions of like, who am I? What is my purpose? What is purpose? What is a soul? Like these more bigger questions that are difficult to wrap our mind around. It's getting that information from the source. And yeah, everyone perceives it differently. When you go in there, it might look to you like you're in a library. Like literally you can see the shelves and you see like old timey books and like alchemy looking things and stuff. But then it also might look really modern to you, or it might look like nature, or it might look like a white room, or it might look like nothing. Like everyone is different. It's really just about how your mind best perceives information. And it's also about what resonates with you. Like I've had people where like we go in there and to them it looks more like the ocean and we're on the water, and for other people it looks more again like you're in a library. So I think it can be really cool just to also from like a fun, exciting, playful standpoint to see how you perceive it, what it looks like to you, what it feels like to you. And it's it's a place to gain information, insight, and then also bring all that stuff back with you. So again, you can go in there just for healing, but it's also bringing the information back with you. If you learn something about yourself, like how is that going to shift you? How is that going to change you? It's not just like, oh, it's cool. Maybe I died in a tsunami. Like, but maybe that can change and shift the way you are. Because for me, like once I kind of had ideas about that, it really shifted the fear that I experienced around seeing that reoccurring dream all the time, or eventually I stopped having that dream. And I don't know if I have had that dream since. Hopefully I'll never have it again. But it was very interesting to begin this healing journey. And like I do with anything, I always want to move through it myself before I can actually show people and embody it myself before I can actually teach it. And so even though I had this idea like a couple years ago, I had to trust myself and be patient, because now I'm finally able to teach it in a way that I feel like will actually be helpful for people, because I can see how far it has taken me and how effective it has been for me, and what kind of healing I could do through this experience. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. Thank you all for listening. If you're curious about this class, send me a DM, send me an email, as I mentioned earlier. And it's going to be very exciting. So we'll be talking more about the records over this month as we're launching this class, and I'll share a few story times either here or on YouTube about some personal healing that I have done. And if you want to learn more, go to my website, gracelannon.com, next week, February 8th, and I'll have all the sign up information for this course. And I love you guys very much. I hope that you have a wonderful night or day whenever you're listening to this. And we'll see you in the next episode. We've got some great guest ones, like some real good, juicy guest ones coming up for you. So I'm excited. This month's going to be amazing. It's almost Valentine's Day. Love yourself, love the world around you, and don't be afraid to express yourself and your truest desires. And if the desire is wanting to be loved and sending that love into the world, like allow yourself to experience it. Don't be afraid. Just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you can't ever do it. Okay? Kisses. I'll see you guys next time.